Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about obnoxious requests. So let's get into it. So the question that I got here was basically, Frederick, could you give an example of the most obnoxious request that you've ever gotten as a software developer in your career? And I will tell you in my career so far, because, well, hopefully I will keep on being a programmer for quite some time. But this is a good question, the most obnoxious one, because I've had a few of these, and I don't really have something that, it depends on how you define obnoxious, but I think I have one thing that was, like, is one of the most irksome things and the most annoying things that I've ever had to do as a software developer. And that is going to be at one of my first, very early on in my career. I worked for a brief time at a design firm or an innovation firm, basically. And we had this. I had one of these managers who was overseeing one of the project that I was working on. Right now, at the time, I'm going to be honest with you, I was way too inexperienced to understand what the underlying problem here was. It's only now, later on in my career, I understood that this person had no fucking clue whatsoever how software development worked at all. None at all. Although they were the company was making money, but it was primarily a design firm, and being a manager and being able to, if you compare the level of experience this person had to most of the people that I've worked with thereafter, it's almost hilarious how ill-equipped this person was to manage IT projects. And one of the things that quite a lot of people fail to understand, and this is one of the causes for quite a lot of friction between engineers and product managers and designers, and this person was primarily a designer or a design manager, is that when you work, as you produce things, it's actually, if you want to meet your deadlines and hit your marks as you progress, you have to, depending on situation, sometimes you need to cut corners, right? It's inevitable. Like, being pragmatic is inevitable, because the fact of the matter is that, and that's something that I will never ever back down on, and that is that the time it takes to produce a graphical interface in a design tool is always going to be simpler or short, like less of an investment than it is to actually build the thing and make it work in code. And because that is always going to be the case, that basically means that if the total lifespan of the product is a certain time, and if there's problems implementing all of the features and the behaviors and the animations and all the different things that needs to actually work in order for a project to be delivered on time, depending on the design, it's actually all but impossible to deliver a quality application in the time that is given to you. And that was something that I could not get, this person could not understand for any reasons, because the only perspective here was that of the designer, and that there is a problem with that. And I will touch on what came after. So at one point we had all of these tiny inconsistencies within the project, and that is something that is like needles in the eyes and like a great source of almost physical pain to some designers. You see that there's a pixel off here and there's a pixel off there, and that is something that starts to pile up very quickly. The problem with maintaining a perfectly consistent interface is that, as I said, it's extremely costly over time, because any change, it's possible for you to fuck up anything with CSS pretty much by just making one arbitrary change in one place, and all of a sudden everything is off. And then you have all the different screen sizes, different screen qualities. There's all kinds of things that may cause a designer to go, this doesn't look exactly as my artboards. This is bad. I need to fix this. And depending on their maturity within the industry, they will actually start to push that. And the request that I got at one point was that my manager basically came in and said, hey, can't we just have a UI fixer day? And I kind of go, a UI fixer day? Yeah, you will just sit, everybody will just, on the product, we will just sit with you will sit with your designer or like a design person, and they will sit next to you, and then they will just point out the things that you need to fix, and then you will fix them. And I just sat there and I said, well, that's probably not a good idea, And, because it's going to take, it takes you a fraction of a second to point out that something isn't looking how you want it, but it will take me an X amount of time to just fix it. Oh yeah, no, this is going to be great. Completely ignoring me, of course, and that's basically what happened. So for an entire day, not only did I have to sit next to a designer who basically just sat there and started pointing out, we got to the point where I was so slow at fixing the things that this person pointed out, that they just kind of said, "Oh, Fredrik, can I just write down on a list all the things I want you to fix on this page, and then maybe go take a coffee or something, and then you can tell me when you're done." And I kind of went, "Yeah, sure, you can do that." There was no stress on me, right? I'm fairly junior, fairly new in my role, and I have this person next to me who has absolutely no idea the amount of work that goes into fixing. Even an alignment issue on a page might be caused by a much more cascading, bigger problem from other CSS selectors on the page, depending on the situation. As I was trying to say, it takes a lot longer to fix the fucking thing than it takes to point out that something isn't looking correctly. And the investment that you need to make in order to fix that is actually quite often very high. It's actually not, my boss, my current boss, said something that I think is absolutely beautiful. There was a business person who said something. I remember we were talking about the feature delivery, and he used this exact term. Well, it's just for the developers to do this and that, right? And my boss just cut him off immediately and said, "No, dude. There is no just in programming. Most of the time, even these small things that you think is just fix it, is actually serious work that requires quite a lot of skill and knowledge to be able to execute on. And most likely it's going to be measured in hours or days to fix something, even if it's a tiny thing." And that is by far, it's still with me even to this day, because by the end of that day I was still perceived as being an inept programmer because, I was so slow. I couldn't just fix this. It was it was a bad experience. I still think about it today. Sometimes when I think about it, I still get a little bit angry because, it's basically putting me in a situation where a person without any understanding of the level of complexity that goes into fixing and tweaking CSS on a big application, they have no understanding of this, and they see it's almost like they were. It's almost to the level of stupidity. Are you seriously? How can somebody seriously think that pointing at something and say, "Hey, we need to fix that alignment," the time that it takes to do that is going to be equal to the time of actually fixing it in a responsive world? I just don't get it. So what I want you to take away from this is that for me, the most obnoxious request I've ever had, and if you ever hear something stupid as this, that we're going to have a UI fixer day where you're forced to sit next to the designer while they point out what's wrong with the interface and expect you to fix it, just shut it down. Having bug fixer days, or having a backlog of issues that you want to get fixed, and then you will fix them in your own time, or when the project manager prioritizes it, that's something you can do. But it was a shitty experience, and the best part was, even though I went along with it, I was still considered to be an inept programmer, and I could see the disappointment in these people's eyes. It's kind of like being a programmer and having everybody who doesn't know a damn thing about computers ask you everything about their laptop to their printer, and get really disappointed in you when you can't answer a question. It sucks, I'm sorry to say. Have a great day.